Good evening, folks. Welcome to another session from the Wise Asylum. Well, I have to be honest, I've not really prepared for this one at all. In fact, I started about 8:15 tonight, so it's going to be fun. We're going to wing it. We're going to wing this one. We're just basically talking about stuff I've picked up over the week. I watched an interesting video, which we put out, I think in 2021, by an hypnotist, and he were going through what he knows, how he uses it, etc., and then applying it to what we're being done. So I thought it was interesting. We might have a look at that. I did pick up a PDF, which is again interesting, but only if you're interested in banking system and all that malarkey and how what's actually happened, why we're in such a mess. Going back to Babylon, called the Babylon Wars. That's an interesting document. So maybe we'll start on that a bit later, and obviously if it gets a bit boring, at least you can pick up the PDF because I'll put it on site for you. So we can do that. Or if you've got any ideas, as we've discussed before, maybe Q&As or something, we can do a bit of that because I really haven't prepared at all. Which doesn't mean to say it might turn out all right, because it might do. So sorry about that, chaps, but I've been crap. So, a bank has collapsed, or 3 in America. The main one being Silicon Valley Bank. And it's the 16th biggest in the United States. I don't think everybody knows that. So it's a big thing. So what they're going to do, is Biden going to bail it out? Or are they just going to leave it to rot? But it's a bit of a shindig going down. It's look here, just transition here. Well, so the companies that have actually come out and disclosed the exposure in this is only 10 of them. But like, I don't really. If you're into IT, because it's basically all centered around IT and manufacturing, all the Silicon Valley stuff. So they're basically, if you're a startup and you want money to do something that's in relation to Silicon Valley, you'll get your money from Silicon Valley, providing that you open an account with this bank, Silicon Valley Bank. So it might not look as desperate as it actually is, because a big raft of everything to do with Silicon Valley, or America's sort of might in all things transistor and such, it's going to affect all that. So some of these names, I have no idea who they are. They probably just, if you're into IT or anything like that, you're going to know. But Circle, 3.3 billion, I mean, that's a fair chunk of cash to be in there. Roku, BlockFi, Roblox, Ginkgo Bio, iRhythm, Rocket Lab, Sangame or Therapeutics, Lending Club, Pioneer. And they're just the ones all so far that have sort of come out and said, oh, here we go. It has nearly 200 billion in deposits, with 95% of those deposits above the 250,000 FDIC limit. This can't end well, says that little chit there. So that's interesting, I thought. But it's like, what are they going to do? Because they can either bail it out like they did in 2008, where we all bailed them out, or they can just leave it. Which, they should actually do that, because then it'll have to settle itself and not drag any more debt onto the taxpayer. So, interesting. But if it's a bit like Cyprus, when that went down in 2013, That were bad. You know, they just shut the second biggest bank shut, basically. Carved it up into two banks, put all the toxic debt in one. And basically, they pulled down capital control, so that's probably what the danger is. If they're going to use what's going on over in the US in a similar manner, because obviously we know that that was a test case for bail-ins, a bank bail-in back in 2013. So if they're going to utilise that kind of system again over there, what the Americans need to watch out for is capital control, because it's through that they tell you how much you can draw. You can't transfer money outside the country, etc., etc. So they basically just completely and utterly control all the finance that's relative to the banks. And that didn't start to loosen until after a year, but it took about 5 years before it actually came back to normal. So off things like that, the federal government can pull in some mighty control mechanics going on. So that's, I suppose, what the Americans need to really keep their eyes on, because it's not good. And it's the 16th biggest bank in the United States. So that puts it quite high up, doesn't it? And 200 billion of it with deposits. That is quite a lot. So they'll have to do bail-in, like they did in Cyprus and all the capital controls, or they'll let it, just leave it. But then, when you take on board what's going on with Taiwan at the moment, because that's another big producer of semiconductors and all such, is this some kind of a outside attack on Americans' semiconductor, transistor, electronics industry as a whole? Because it could be, and you've got it ramping up big time now. China and America are basically both ramping up for war. And when I say that, I'm talking about commanders are being commanded, generals are being generaled to get ready for war. So that's happening, and it's all in relation to Taiwan. Now, I don't know whether people know this or not, but when the missile crisis in Cuba was going on with Russia and the US, China fell out with Russia, because China wanted Russia to bomb the living shit, launch all their nukes from Cuba. Right, so that was China's attitude in the 60s. They hated America because of its post-Second World War colonialism. So China's rhetoric towards America wasn't good, especially in the 60s. I mean, they wanted Russia to launch, and because Russia didn't, China fell out with Russia. Now, China's rhetoric didn't change until 1979, when they were included in, or recognised diplomatically by America. And then China's rhetoric changed, so it never attacked America because it was thankful that it had been recognised. Then it became a member of the World Trade Organization, and that's when the problem started, because that's when China basically just sucked up all global industry from its entrance into the World Trade Organization. And I think America probably just thought, well, if we let China in, it's just another country we can capitalise on. But that was never China's agenda. So China have been playing wrong throughout this whole thing. There's no innocence going on in successive Chinese regimes at all, as they see the West. So there could be a lot of, if China's been playing that game since the 60s, we've all been focused to Russia and the Soviet Union, rather, as it were, then Middle East. What has China been doing in all that time? Is it behind so much of this global grab of everything? Is it they that have all our leaders under blackmail due to these networks such as that of Robert Maxwell, which became Epstein's network, and the others? Because there's a lot more of them networks about. They just don't get as much airtime, as it were. But who is it? Who picks it up? We know who picks up the blackmail. We know who carries it out. But who ultimately are they selling it to? Because that's how they've gained all these foreign governments and intelligence operations have managed to get stuck into our systems. So we mustn't be thinking that China's innocent in any of this. But Same true with Russia. You know, Russia's not an innocent nation. It never has been. And this pretends that somehow Vladimir Putin is a good guy. Okay, so he did something good. If, you know, there were 43, which there were, by our labs there, what were they doing? And the way they've been treating the people of Ukraine since 2014, in and of itself, it's not acceptable. So he had rights in that respect, but he's no better. I mean, more Russians are being killed. It's just ridiculous, really. It's just they're getting rid of a lot of everybody. They're getting rid of their old military stock. So then each nation then is going to be coming to us taxpayers to replenish it. It's not good, is it? So if you look at Taiwan, I mean, how would that go down? So what happened? Would China invade Taiwan? Because Taiwan isn't without its own military. It's got quite a lot of planes in its air force, 400 off fighters, I think, and then everything that's required for that. So they're not without their own sort of kickback, but, you know, you're talking about China, and it's now looking like China does indeed have the biggest navy. It's got twice the manufacturing capacity of the United States now, so it's doubled itself up on that. We're not really prepped for war in the West. We don't manufacture anything anymore. Now, okay, if they go to war, then the war machine kicks off and starts up, but then you're into Third Reich territory. You know, that's how Hitler sorted out Germany after all the reparations that we were building a war economy. So that would be an immediate shift, would it not? But as I've said before, who is it that they're going to be trying to conscript for this war? Yeah, is it going to be all these immigrants that have been flown around all over the shore? No, it's not. They're going to be the ones that stay here while you've gone off to kill yourself for these numpties. You know what I mean? You've really got to see what this is now. This is sort of the final act in the mass reduction of the white honky. Because the white honky, because it's in his DNA, because it's been fleeing this dark side for a long time, is apt to war pretty quickly. So they're going to pull you in on a carrot that's already highly advanced in the genetics, but more importantly, has been fired up for the last 20 odd years, well, more, 40 years, you could say. Starting with Grenada, then you got the early Iraq, and then everything post 9/11. We're not forgetting Yugoslavia, which was an absolutely obscene war. Obscene in the sense that what we got on TV were half-baked garbage, and that it was actually NATO forces that were carrying out the most obscene war crimes imaginable. And then all the systems that came off that, organ trafficking, kidnapping people because the medical records show that they're perfect blood group. No, this is what we're going on in Yugoslavia. So this war mode has just gone insane, and it's getting bigger and bigger. But, you know, everybody's focused to the Ukraine. Well, that's pretty much coming to an end, let's be honest. The real point for me of fire, if we were to see it in this image that they require, this video this new video they need to keep everybody in check and under this hypnotism while they've got it under fear, would more than likely, in my opinion, be something that takes place in the Middle East, in Syria, kind of like say. Not in the Ukraine. In that case, it wouldn't be a Russia or indeed a US promulgated event, would it? It would be either Israel or Iran, one of the two. So deflection there with the Ukraine, because I think that's where it's at. That's where it's kicking off. You've got Netanyahu back in now. He's just war. That's all he knows. He's already, you can see, the minute he got in, everything fired up, back to war. The attitude, the instructions, not just for Israelis, but for every other nation that's tied to it. So that's, you can see going on. But this China thing is rather worrying because for it to kick off, say for let's say that China actually attacked America openly, physically, then the only other way that it would start, or military action would start, would be perceived as an act of aggression by the US, because either China would invade it, and maybe a week's worth of efforts from the Taiwanese before they were subdued, which would mean that Uncle Sam would have to fly in there with his fleets and then attack China. The other method would be that China's navy blockades Taiwan with naval force and submarines, etc. Again, for America to respond, the only response it could actually have would be to attack China's navy. So the setup as it stands over there isn't good, because whichever way you look at it, because America, or Biden especially, keeps papping on about how he'll protect Taiwan, is a bit odd. Because it's a setup. It's a setup for the US. Because the only response it could have would be to actually physically attack. So how would the rest of the world see that? Well, they'd see it exactly as it is, wouldn't they? An attack by the America, so the aggressor. So, I mean, that's another thing that America needs to keep their eyes on, because I do believe that America's being set up. Same through with NATO. I mean, you know, are you being told on your media, because obviously I don't watch it, but there are currently 23 protests going on across Europe against NATO, especially the arming of the Ukraine. 23 nations protesting like you wouldn't believe to stop this arming of this madman Zelensky. You know? So Europe's not up for this. So it's not Europe that's sort of at the core of this nonsense that's going on with Russia, because all these sanctions have done is bolster Russia's economy to the fact it's double its size and power. But more importantly, it's made it more self-sufficient. It's now less reliant on the West for its economy, and it's tied itself in now with the East. So if we're going to go to war in that respect, let's say with China, how would India, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, all these more southern Asian states, how would they see a bold physical attack by America on Chinese Navy? Have to be careful with that, you know. It's because that'd be the perfect way to set up America, wouldn't it? It'd be the perfect way as they are as well set up here. Because I'm pretty sure there's not very many blighties here going, yeah, let's kick the shit out of Russia. There's a lot of numpties and fruit bats doing it, and we just seem to have a lot of them down in Chalco, Westminster. But that's not the overriding opinion of the Brits. We're not interested in fucking war with Russia, arming Ukraine. We're sending our lads over there. We're not interested. But if you listen to the media or politicians, you'd think we were overwhelmed with joy at the prospect. But again, like I said, the only people that they're aiming to recruit if they get these going is the white honky. So if you want to soddle off there to be Batman, just reckon with the fact that you're leaving your wife and your offspring here for who? Not going to treat them the same way you'd expect it, are they? You know what I'm saying? So you're going to commit Harry Carey on yourself. You're going to annihilate your family, or at least leave it into a position where it will be. And that's the setup being set up all around us. Because if you look at the charge, who are the two dicks charging all this? Biden administration, political class down in Westminster here. Not us, them, at cabinet level. Whether they're Labour, whether they're Liberal, or whether they're Conservative. At cabinet level, tight, they're all paying for it. And that Starmer is a complete fruit bat. Crown agent blocked Jimmy Savile's investigation when he was head at CPS, and he loves it. He loves Zelensky. So there's going to be no change there, is there? So this thing that's going on all over the show at the minute, where people have been thrust into the left again, you really need to see that these right, left, pink, purple, black, white, up, down, don't matter. They're all the same. They're all being controlled by the Privy Council, because the Privy Council, we could say, is the cabinet, i.e. everyone in the cabinet at cabinet level has got the pass from the Privy Council. Now, when we look at what's going on with the coming coronation, you know, we've looked at the image, okay? Something higher is telling this guy who's about to be monarch how it is. You know, if we can start to see that the Privy Council acting for the absent king has been doing that since 1953, they built up the entire power base around what was England and Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, shifted it off the monarch position because she stepped off it 3 days after and became Chair of Estates. And they built up the Privy Council to be the almighty power of the private through into our system. And they're doing that because they control the cabinet. So if I'm correct, and that they're going to smudge everything that we're expected to be done in this coronation, then what you're going to have sanctioned, if you don't question this, is you're going to sanction what's been achieved since 53 as the common custom, and that would be that the Privy Council is the chief Rooney over these isles. And the Privy Council are the billionaires, the bankers, not English, not Scottish, not Welsh, not Irish. Yeah, so this is where we're at, and this is the kind of situation now that they're building up as they get to spring. Yeah, because this is a big build-up time, this gestation of all the little plans as we get to the spring equinox. So all the prayers and such like that they presented in autumn, bedded in during the dark nights of the winter, are now gestating, and they're ready to produce the first shoots of physical reality, which we're now in March. We're heading very close. Well, what are we? 10 days away from the spring equinox, and this is how they work. You know, they work to the old, what you would call pagan counts, the calendars, because it's all about the earth, not the world. So there's some interesting and worrying things going on, let's say. But as this bank in America, especially the Silicon Valley Bank, because I think there's only two that have so far pretty much shown that they're in trouble by having to come out publicly announcing that everything's okay to the punters, which is a sure sign that there are problems because they've had to actually declare that. So there's all sorts going on, but just keep your eyes on that in America, because it's the capital control systems that they put in place that will give us an idea as to what's really going on. And is these an attack on America's Silicon Valley and all that it encompasses? Because it's what it's looking like to me. It really is looking like that to me. So, who have we got going on? Hello, everybody. So, Paul says, good evening, Sean, and everybody. Good evening to you, Paul. Debbie says hello and clapping hands. Hello, Debbie. Ross Snowman, greetings, Sean, and all good evening to you. Slipknot says, alright, Sean and everyone. Alright, Trev. And we've got a pink yin yang. Because Trev's been going to them funny carnivals, I think. How are you, Trev? Only joking, mate. Untitled says, hello, Sean and everyone. Hello, Untitled. Cause, so big man, I have a popcorn. I'm ready to go. And we've got the emoji with the gigs on. Sunglasses this time. So he's in a cool mood. Alright, Cos. Debbie says, you're allowed a live, Sean. Don't apologise. Well, yeah, well, anyway. Yeah, we'll enjoy it anyway, won't we? We're just having a chin wag. What's it matter? So maybe we'll not do any boring stuff like the Walls of Babylon or whatever the hell it is. We'll just chit-chat. So if you've got any ideas that you want to talk about, just bang them up. Just bang them up. There is something I want to look at. I forgot what it is. Hang on a minute. No, it's not that. No, it's not that either. No, it's not that. It's... Well, actually, I might even be even worse than I thought. Oh, no, wait a minute. No. Actually, this isn't meant to be up. Right, let me just shut this browser. That's why my computer's having a fit. Right. Never mind that. So, I do have some stuff. But, anyway, we're here, aren't we? Anthony says, hey up, Sean, folks. Hey, up to you, Anthony. Debbie says, oh yeah. Ag Maniac, even though not being able to watch live for a while, looking forward to that after recent events. Oh, what recent events do you want to chat about? Nessa, evening all, and good evening to Nessa. I think it's very significant. BY says, evening all, good evening Paul. Untitled says, bailing. I'm presuming you're talking about bank? Yeah. Well, that's only if... well, let's wait and see. We don't know. But it's what comes after, and that we're definitely an experiment in Cyprus. And they got away with it, basically. But for 5 years. 5 years in control, capital control orders were in before they were sort of relinquished. It's not good, is it? Joining the lot says, greetings. Tilia Pierce, good evening, late again. Hope I haven't missed much. Not really, me old China. Untitled says, Spanish police protesting as well against the government. There's massive protests going on across Europe about NATO not wanting to be funding this madman, Knobend Zelensky. He is a knobend, and you know, it's just quite worrying that certain characters that we have in our system and the US has in their system are kissing his ass. It's quite ridiculous, really, but probably a lot of people sucking it up, isn't there? Let's be honest about that as well. Looks like I better start learning Mandarin, says Koz. Looks like I better start learning Mandarin. Well, I mean, let's face it, if that kicks off, that's no good thing, is it? Do you want to go and fight over there? No, why would you? But you can guarantee, because of NATO, we're all doomed to it. Or at least the blag, they're going to put out the blag. You know, but it will not be these immigrants that are going to be conscripted at all. They'll be Dad's army. Over your wife, over your offspring, Grandma, if Grandma's still here, Grandad, if Grandad's still here, aunties, uncles, Shep and Kitty. Yeah, you'll be off being Rambo because you're not very bright, and leaving all your flock in the hands of some serious munchkins that have been coming over on boats. Our police have been given paperwork to say, yes, you're free, come in, we'll pay for you. You get kicked out, you cancel ass. It's all good, because coronation's on 3 times a week. Innit? So why would anybody be caring about anything else? So, let the elites fight their psyop war. Well, they're going to do it anyway. It's all you're going to get black by it. Because you listen to these people. So some guy come out who had so much to do with some bigwig, giving it, I am furious, Matt Hancock, how dare you? I believed every word you said. I did everything you said. And he's angry at Matt Hancock. And I'm like, you fruit bat, that energy in its entirety needs to be addressed to self. Because it doesn't matter what a cock said on the telly. You believed it. There's the issue. There's the problem. Not throwing anger around at Mother Teresa's son over there in the US and that crazy pillock that they're throwing on cross now here, that Hancock geezer. It's scripted. It's all scripted, this. It's a play. All of it. Matt Hancock's agreed to all this. He's an actor. When I watched him on that I'm a Celebrity, I saw him a couple of times, that guy is a smart. He's way above. He's just so far above the majority of people's mentality. It's ridiculous. Because you're all seeing him exactly as he's playing it for you to see him. And now they're going to throw him to lions. And you're all diverted being angry. You're not to be angry at these idiots. You're to be angry at the fact that them idiots did you a favour because they made you realise that you're a fruit bat. And that you've been a fruit bat since the day you were born because your mum and dad pumped it down your neck, school pumped it down your neck, and everybody else that you knew would pump it same down your neck. That's all that was going on. It's not that they're at fault. They're doing what they do. They're doing nut jobs. you believed it. So if there's any anger or energy, better not really to be anger, but if there's any energy to be expressed upon those revelations and enlightened epiphanies that people are having, spend that energy on you, working out how the hell did you get sucked into that. That's all. That's the only word. The only place you need to expend your energy. Do not waste any of it on hating them. Because as we get into, we'll have a look at this. This is an hypnotist. This is his job. This is what he does for a living. So basically, he's going through the way that he prepares a show. So he's one of them kind of guys, that gets you out to audience and does all this. So he's basically saying the first point of the ritual is to get their attention. But what you're after is you're after their emotional attention. You're not interested in the mind, the reason. In fact, that's what you're bypassing. So the first point of this ritual is to attract the emotions as attention from your target audience. So if he's in a town, first thing he does, he puts up posters wherever he can get them with bright colours. It grabs your attention. If you use those slightly sickly expressions of a colour, it more tunes into the emotional self. So there straight away is in the mix, the ritual's on, attention has been grabbed. So then he said, once it comes to the night itself, and they all come in, they've bought the tickets before, they've walked through the door, they sat down. He said, then I have to create a bit of confusion or chaos in their minds. So he doesn't come on. He makes them wait. And he makes them wait up to 20 minutes. And that 20 is a long time, 20 minutes to be sat there going, you're confused in your mind. And he's saying that's exactly how he wants you. Yeah, so he's already communicated with your emotions. That's why you sat there in the theatre. Now he has to create a bit of confusion in your mind. Because you get excited, it creates energy, but it focuses it up into your mind. Yeah? So once he's got that together, so 20 minutes you've been sat there faffing about, you've primed. You are now primed for him to come in. You're so open to suggestibility because you're tense, you're a bit hyper of expectations, you've got all these thoughts of what it may be in your mind, but he's created that confusion. So you're all aflutter. You're primed. That's what he's saying. So in any event, this was going on through the television, first he'd have to give you the emotional communication. So that would be the shock of, oh my God, look what's happened. You know what I'm saying? Then they'll turn you into confusion, like nobody knows what's going on. Oh my God, he's home and blah, blah, blah. They're giving that, you're confused as shit because you haven't got a clue what's going on. Right? But you're totally and utterly confused. Shit, scared, after death, and confused. And they leave you in that bubble for a month or so. Yeah? So they grab your emotions, you're shitting yourself, and there's no, it's all. Then they start to put in remedy. It's not there yet, but there's a talk of it. So straight away then, in your confusion, in your fear, you're recognising that word, and you've cemented in your mind that word represents safety, safety. Yeah? So in it goes. But they're not bringing it, it's still on confusion yet, but you've put that in your little bag in here and gone, safety. Right? So that when they do announce it, right, here they go, you're all going, safety. Triggered. You've triggered back into that little memory. So it goes back to what we were saying to the week about when they have a major event. It's imperative that they flash you with images, video, but more importantly the narrative. Because with each video, and it'll be colour coordinated, they'll have took a lot of time to formulate these images and then the rhetoric that goes with it. Because in that it's creating trigger words. That you, subconsciously, you'll store that in there again. Oh, that means danger. Oh, no. So they'll have images, so name, for instance, like Bin Laden. There you go, bomb, Bin Laden, cave. It's in a little box here. There, you put it away because you're still focused, because Confusion's everywhere. You're still pulling in this program that they throw in you like a mantra. But what they're actually doing is you're creating these two: danger, safety. Yeah, images, words, etc. that they're then putting in you. So then they start to create, it's a test, is this, to create an action, because what you're going to do now is see who amongst your target audience is susceptible to it, and to what degree they're susceptible, because what he's basically saying in that they are trained, that everybody is different. So he says then you create an action and you're looking for the susceptible people, because those are the people that you're going to work with. So in his case, in the audience, he'll set up something and he's watching. And he's then going to pick out of that audience the ones that were more susceptible. So if he's telling you to clap or do something with your hands or put your hand on your head, those that do it immediately, those are the ones he's after. Because they are completely and utterly in his arms. Yeah, he's got them. So once they've done that little test, so all the rules that were coming out before the safety thing, the rules are coming out, chip chap, you're putting it in safety, 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 danger, danger, danger. Yeah, they're wrapping you up in these little things. So then what they do, they've given you an action, they can see who's susceptible, and they get an idea who isn't. Then they create more confusion again, right? So they've set a program so that straight away you're going to do this and you're not going to do that. You're going to wear this, you're not going to wear that. Yeah, they've got you already operating in that way. So now you're already in a point where you're so fixed into this one side of it, either for or against, that what starts to come to the fore then as a natural progression is anger. Right? And because you're projecting, because at no point at this stage have you recognised that actually you're the dumbass, because you're doing what Simple Simon says. Yeah? So they're simple. But so are you now, because you're copying them. And that's the only part that you play in reality in your life is, what are you doing? Yeah? So you're blinded by this point now, you're either for or against. And now anger's becoming a tangible thing. So if you've done it, you're angry at them that haven't. And if you haven't, you're angry at them that have. So then you've got the case where each side's got all the reasons as to why he has to anger to you, blah, blah. So this side that's not doing it, think, I'm not programmed. I am totally and utterly free because I am not doing it. No, that's not the case, because the programming side of it really is going on in pulling in the anger. Because what you get to a point then where you've got two sides and all they're doing, they're not throwing about data, they think they are, but they're just throwing anger at each other. Boom, 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 boom. You're both being controlled through anger and fear. Yeah, more so fear if you go with it because that's what's grabbed you. You may be a little less fearful if you didn't, but you're still being programmed because you're on your emotional side of things. You're pulling through anger. You're starting to despise. You can feel that tension rising. Albeit now, I have to say, and I don't think I've felt it that often here on Blighty during the whole thing, which were good. I always saw that and realised that hadn't worked. That part of it hadn't worked. It's not to say they can't form it up again in some future thing, but I very much doubt it. But basically, they've got people to a point where you, one way or another, you're hating the other, and so all you're actually doing is projecting anger. You're not actually relieving yourself from the actual program itself. So you've created confusion again. Now you're going to pick them. You're going to pick your people to come up, and so you've given them a danger. You've given them a major danger. You've put a few bits in of safety. Things they want to do. You've presented it to you via all means in a way in which you put it in a little box, and at the mere mention of it again, or the image, or just a phrase or a sentence, bang, that picture comes into your mind. You're editing everything else. You're following that edit. And this is the same with religion. This is how religion works as well. Once you've been given a program, and you're fixed into it and you've accepted it, you will edit everything that may not fit with what it is you take on, and you won't give it any reasoned sort of. You won't explore it from a point of reason. You will just boom fly off onto your edit. So then he's got his people on stage. It's created a bit of a problem, but then he offers them a solution. And as I've just said, there's verbal, there's image, yeah, even music, whatever, tones of voices when they're giving this out. All these are making up these little boxes in your safety and danger side of your mind. That all they need to do then, they've done the programming, they now just keep the rhetoric that they're going to keep pouring out at you within the parameters of all those trigger points that they've installed. And that's basically what he's doing with his, when he's got them on stage. He's totally and utterly released them from the reason self, that he's got them totally emotionally. If you get them in fear, they're totally suggestible. It's so easy, it's unbelievable. So you've done all this planning around, you've put in these things, so then you can start to formulate the experiment by testing this out, testing that out. And as you've seen from these it's purposeful leaked nonsense with Hancock, I can see, you're seeing it as, oh my God, it's disgusting, but they've been operating to this format at that level of politics, and they know it, yeah, from the get-go. This is why I'm saying Matt Hancock's a lot smarter than any of you would even dare to believe. I could see it plain as day in that celebrity. More so than when I ever watched him on YouTube doing his thing. Yeah, I always thought to myself, is he just a bit thick? Is he like the proper numpty? No way. You saw him on Celebrity? Oh no, that guy is proficient at his role, I'll tell you that now. So he's going to be a lifetime actor. When his life ends, who knows? But these kind of people are lifetime actors. So you can bet they're brought up in elite families. You know, the hoity-toits, their intelligence families, all this stuff. These are kids that were brought up in it and born into it. That's all they know. It's the program. Second nature to these people. They are not like you. This is the hard part for most people. You know, you in society see things in a certain way. Very basic, very in denial of a lot of human traits that we have, traits that are out there. You know, society is just a bubble that's it's created to make people think they're safe, because all they're doing is ignoring reality. Media edit it out to fit in sync with how people perceive it, so to them it doesn't exist. As you now can see, there are people in this world, and that's why they're a lot smarter than you, that have misused that strength for centuries, for millennia. Instead of helping the weak, they walk all over the weak. And they've been doing it for a very long time. Now today we have a chance, more and more people have a chance to break through that mind prison, that emotional prison that they've got everybody dancing to. So it is interesting times, very interesting times indeed. So basically you end up with two sides, which we have, don't we now? We've those that don't and those that did. Those that did are now becoming those that don't anymore. So there is a common coming together again. You can see that. But the way that a lot of these people are coming out, they're trying to raise your anger against Hancock. Raise your anger against the guy in America. It's a wrong energy. Just see them as they are, liars. But more importantly, spend all that energy on reckoning with why the hell did you fall for that? Because there's a lot more coming. And as we just explored at the beginning, the next one is, let's conscript all the white honkies. Or white honky males. Remember this. So white honky males, they've already took you out of your families. You're no longer in your family, they've got rid of you. Your women are thick, your women are pathetically stupid, They're only caring about the nail varnish, the lips, yeah, and television. Yeah, it's not good. That's happened. Now they need to get it off the land. And the best way to do that for White Honky is rattle a bullet and a gun and bombs. Because they turn into infants. They like that kind of stuff, don't they? You know? It's quite ridiculous. So, you know, that's breaking the spell. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it, because all you should be thinking about, even if you've been kicked out of your family and you're not living with your offspring, you're still your offspring. It's time for you to start to man up and realise that they're still your offspring and that you better take responsibility, because there's a big monster coming down on it all as we move to 2030. A big monster. But it can only work if everybody does what's just happened, because they fall for this hypnotism, this mind control. So with that, I had this. Oh, wait a minute. I keep doing things differently. So I put these up yonks ago. Oh, how weird. So I put these up absolutely yonks ago. Well, it shouldn't be that, actually. Let me have a look. Nope, we won't. So we got a bit excited about this quite a while ago. So this 2013, I think, when I first... So this is on the back of all that 2009 H1N1 thing. And it were all the changes that they were making during that period, at the back end, for mental health, all this on medical, but they were doing it also in relation to behaviour change. And so they have a behaviour insights team, and it's not UK. Yeah, it's UK, so it's corporate. And this is Cabinet Office. So we don't need to get on to me gobbing it off. So this was back then, and the coalition were in. You remember Clegg and Cameron? And it were basically, so the big society that they kept popping on about were all about the programming, moving into this new program after Blair's program. And it were going on all over at schools. Yeah, and it was like, everything they were doing with this insights team from 2011 is what they carried out through this last 3 years to a T, which works in sync with the hypnotic stuff. So the whole world has been completely and utterly entranced through this last 3 years. It's quite ridiculous, really, but that is what's happened. And all this mainly were being carried out through the House of Lords. Julia Neuberger, she were a big one in this, and we did discuss it before. Her brother-in-law were actually the head of the Supreme Court at the same time she was pushing this. So the corporate Supreme Court was supporting all this stuff, providing nobody brought any law into any case or whatever against it. As long as it's only commercial, then the Supreme Court can claim to be the Supreme Court. Or, as you might think, King's Bench. So they set up something called the Nudge Unit. And it's... Where are we? Applying behavioural insights to charitable giving. Right? Research from the Behavioural Insights team, or Nudge Unit, shows that charity donations can be increased by using behavioural sciences. Applying behavioural insights to charitable giving. And there is a link to take you to what they're talking about. And this was published 28th of May 2013. It says, research and analysis. Test, learn, adapt, developing public policy with randomised controlled trials. Published 14th of June 2012, and it's a policy paper. Did you see that? With randomised controlled trials. Fraud, error and debt. Behavioural Insights team paper. So that's another one. where they're talking about how they can use error and debt again to control behaviour, and that was published in 2012, and again a policy paper. What we do, the Behavioural Insights team, often called the Nudge Unit, applies insights from academic research in behavioural economics and psychology to public policy and services. In addition to working with almost every government department, we work with local authorities, charities, NGOs, private sector partners and foreign government, developing proposals and testing them empirically across the full spectrum of government policy. And then they have a blog, which I've got a link to. Responsibilities. So these are self-proclaimed responsibilities, remember. We are responsible for encouraging and supporting people to make better choices for themselves, considering the application of behavioural science to policy design and delivery, advancing behavioural science in public policy, championing scientific methodology to bring greater rigour to policy evaluation. You get that? Championing scientific methodology. Now, they don't mean the old scientific method, yeah, where you experimented by getting rid of untruths so you were left with the only true thing on the table. No, this is scientific methodology. We're talking about pseudoscience. All the stuff that the Epstein network funded and then blackmailed into being through Harvard and through MIT, specifically, but Yale as well. Probably all the US Ivy League university systems, as the same here in Oxford and Cambridge. So you can see that a big part of their game was getting advancing behavioural science in public policy. So that's first getting into the political class and championing scientific methodology to bring greater rigour to policy evaluation. So and what have they done it last year? Is just push this pseudo science, haven't they? And it's achieved its game. It achieved its aim. I think a lot better than they expected. And he says, who are we? Our director is David Halpern, who may not be in that seat today. We are a small team of 13 with backgrounds in academia, behavioural sciences and experimental methodology, policy making and marketing. We are based in London. And they have quite a few documents applying behavioural insights, charitable giving we've looked at. Test, learn, adapt, developing. Random. We've done that one. And there's. So this has been going on for quite a while. Now, there's a few links here as well. Underneath. What's this one? Because I don't. What? You know, to that page. Just go to the page, will you? What's going on here? How can that page not be found on my website? What? Just a minute. What is going on my web? That is an impossibility. Hang on. Unless I've been hacked, which I've been looking into because I may have been hacked. Right, so I need to go back here because that shouldn't happen in my own frigging website. What's it called, that? How dirty. How disgraceful can you get? I mean, come on. It's just disgusting. Right, I forgot how to. Oh, for God's sake. Right, let's just have a look here because that's... What's going on here? If I put in my search, that should come up. There we go. So did you see that? Search engine said it doesn't exist. There it is. No, we've looked at this. Now there's some strange stuff going on here. Oh, I think I might have been hacked. Yeah, look at that. See, I should keep a bit more of a better eye on what's going on here. Ooh. Something weird going on there, folks. My apologies. We're going to go through a few of these. But this is Julian Neuberger. We have discussed it before. Just have a...
The government's going to change our behaviour. That's what they do. They want us to get thinner. They're worried about obesity. city. They want us to use our cars less.
So she pretends she's not government. Damn right she is. She was telling government what to do. So they come like you don't. They're going, oh, we're lovely and fantastic. And look what these governments do. They're disgusting. When really they're the ones tied to the Privy Council that are actually pushing this first onto the political class and then blaming everybody else. They're really good at that, I've noted. And I'm pretty sure you've noted the same. Have you not? Now, we'll buzz back that there and then I'll come back in here. Could you see that? Hang on. You could see that, couldn't you? Don't tell me you couldn't see that, for goodness sakes. I'm pretty shit. So, where are you? You know, yeah, Sean I Fox says, train, are you train? 15-minute cities. They're calling them 20-minute cities in other places. I watched something with that Ricardo Rossi the other day. I don't know whether we've got any Aussies on. And he's an interesting guy. And I've heard some interesting stuff about Aussies. How the Aussies are actually starting to turn their back completely on Israel. I don't mean necessarily the incumbent government, but high-level civil servants are starting to really. So that's interesting. If something like that were to take place over there in Australia, that would be extremely important. So there are a lot of things going on, but there's a lot of things going on as well that are quite good. Do you know what I mean? So that's alright. Obviously scripted, yeah. Everything that's going on is scripted. It's quite, and now it's the Ukrainians that did that no train gov. I think they say that. Yeah. The world is an illusion. Well, it bites. Yeah, it's one of them kind of illusions that bites you on your ass as well. So, you know, don't get too new agey. You know what I mean? Because you've got to get stuck in. Wish I was an anaesthetist, because I know who I'd anaesthetize. You naughty girl, Tree. Anaesthetize. Oh, you got it right this time. I weren't going to pull you on your spelling. Anthony says, when is your face-ache sentence complete, Sean? Or should I say, when do you get parole? I don't know. I can't remember whether it were 11th. It must have been 18th, because they haven't put me back on. But then they did say that 30 days or they might do it for more. Do you know what though? What's really interesting is I haven't missed face ache one bit. I have not missed that thing at all. Really, I haven't. And I'm sure a lot of people are quite happy that there's been no more stuff for them to have a look at. So I think it comes off. It must be 18th actually, so somewhere down there, if they want to play out. But I'm looking to start a forum because I've had enough of the censorship. So I'm thinking in terms of, I'll set up a forum. Naturally, none of your information is going to be collected at all by me. None of it's going to be shared at all by me. And so I'm thinking, so ideas of anybody, if you want to bounce them off, would be good. But so this is what I'm thinking: a general run-of-the-mill forum where anybody, as long as they've sort of shown themselves, you know, they're not going to be just throwing expletives everywhere. They're coming in with bona fide stuff. They're opening up debates so that there's proper debate going in, not just people shouting off, shooting for it. I thought we'd have an open forum where everybody can get on, and then if certain subject matter within that mix are interesting, then I'll raise that up. So like set it up in levels, so it'll get raised up to a point where it's not so much about opinions, that it's moved up to a level whereby that debate will only continue based on documented data, source data. So that and then if it gets to a point where it's getting really interesting, we can move it up to another level and apply academic stuff to it. In that way then, it covers all aspects. You've got your run-of-the-mill where everybody can do the chit-chatting. You know, you've got your own little account with it, etc. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to charge anything or anything. It's just so it's there where people can actually say what they want. We can have an open forum where you can actually say whatever you want. You can fall out each other and all sorts, but it's separate. So setting up something like that, and pretty much give people free will on it. But more importantly, from the bottom side of it, if there's interesting data comes up, we can pull it up the hierarchy, and then it can start to build as a serious bit of data. So I've been thinking about that while Facebook's done that for me, because I don't like being censored by anybody. It's not nice, but it's part and part of the game now, isn't it? So you work around it, don't you? You don't scratch your eyes out, fight them. Just say, okay, let's have a look at another angle. So that's my thoughts at the moment as we're heading into spring. And I think it'd be a good idea. It'd be a good thing for people then not have to be thinking, if there's something you like, if something you've heard, something you found, write it down. If it's an opinion, say it's an opinion. If it's coming from a particular person, show the person, show the source. If you play it like that, again, keep it in the let's explore rather than let's lay claims. Let's throw claims out either and everywhere. Explore issues rather, that way then we can get to the bottom of things, and everybody is taking part. So that's my idea. So hopefully this year that's where I'm going to get off the ground, and face it can kiss my ass. Basically, I don't like it anyway. They're complete dicks. And I had a look through it, going through my timeline. They've removed so many of my fantastic and amazing. I'm rather vexed. It's rather disgusting, to be quite honest. So, anyway, I mean, them kind of people, at face it, they can actually lick slugs, can't they? They lick slugs. That's how low they are. And some of them can actually do that Jamaican thing underneath a slug. That's how low grade they are. I'm not happy being on that kind of platform, to be honest. So I don't care. And I haven't missed it one bit. So who cares? So I think 18th or around that time anyway. But they might not be. Thoughts on Ukraine become the new Israel? Well, we have discussed that on a previous live stream. I don't think it's going to become the new Israel, but I think perhaps the greater Israel, i.e. the elites of certain bloodlines, would like that land back. So we did discuss that before, but I mean, who knows? Who knows? So I wouldn't like to say exactly, but we did explore that subject some time ago, actually, Lone Ranger. It's home of the Khazar. Yeah, exactly. So we did explore. I can't remember. I've looked at some of my live streams, and they're not. I don't label them right. I don't even know what's on them. So that would a bit crap from me. I might have to start maybe labeling up what's up, because I don't even know what's in half of them anyway. But anyway, never mind. The Sanity Machine. Oh hey, hello to you. I make truth videos. I'm going to blaze up and relax. Blaze up and relax. And if you're making truth videos, send me one by email. We'll have a look at it. We're not shy. We don't mind looking at other stuff. God says it's the rats in a cage analogy. Oh God. I mean, I've studied the starvation thing and what it does, how it works, and it's not funny. It's not nice. And they're getting ration in your mind, aren't they now already? So you can see, I think they're going to build up this war, you know, even not just for the image and the video, for this next wave of hypnotism to put you back in your kennel. Definitely then to thin out the white hunkies even more. Now, I mean, I have to say I'm a white hunky, and I won't be anything else. Maybe in the next life I might be someone else, but in this life, I'm a white hunky, and I like white hunkies. So I don't want to see white hunkies zooming off to die for Benjamin Netanyahu and his clan. Yeah, anyway. So, where am I? Oh, I'm up here. Joining the dots says problem, reaction, solution. Yes. But first he gets him into hypnotism, you know. So now you see order out of chaos. So on a global scale, that's exactly what they've used with all these wars since the Crusades, you know. War, fear, confusion, chaos reigns, they create the new. I mean, it's clever stuff. You know, first they gained, those that can't own land, gained control of the fruits of the land because they were the traders of it, your produce. Then through the banks, they've now got full control of the use of the land. They don't own it, but they've got control of the fruits and the use. Yeah. And now it's going into a fourth trust. I don't know. Ukraine or UK reign. Well, it's hard to work out what exactly they're doing. We know they're trying to obfuscate England anyway. Mike says, evening to you, Mike. A hill one evening, all evening to you. You can tell the top dogs and families ugly as sin, inside and out. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them back in the day, the way they've got away with a big part of this is they were marrying, well, not necessarily marrying them, but having Italian women sire their offspring. And they did that for a long time. And that's captured many a male over the centuries. The hoity-toity males I'm talking about. A few less sexy than Mr. Hancock. Yeah, he's a clever guy, I'm telling you. You don't feel, he knows exactly what he's doing. LFX, calculated murderers. There is your intent. But have they murdered anybody? Yes, the old people. But they haven't murdered anybody that took it upon themselves to do it. It's not murder. That's called suicide. If that's the end it brings you. It's self-harm. So down the line, these administrators of your estate, because you're classed as dead without a living will, and therefore are still under probate, because of your civil death, you're fornicators, you're murderers because you're aborting your offspring, you're cannibals because you're eating aborted fetus stem cells. Yeah. And what were we just talking about? Because I forgot. Hang on. Got murderers. And now you've committed suicide. Now you're self-harmed. And now you're self-harmed the children, which are wards of the state. So down the line, you're going to get so judged by this system that you've backed and paid to for a couple of centuries. It's going to come and bite you just like it's doing it now. So in America. So lawsuits are coming in. The trusts themselves are putting it all on the doctors and the nurses. Didn't we tell you that's what was going to happen? Didn't we tell you that's what was going to happen back in 2020? Yes. And it's happening. So, you know, it's just, if you're still fixed, it's hit you that way and then it comes back on itself and it's you again. Plus you're all diverted. You're not paying attention to what you should be paying attention to. You can't lose with these systems. They're just perfect. They're perfect for them because, but only while you're entranced. You know, gaming is a good, gaming, by golly, Paul. Well, I'll tell you something else about gaming. That network is so huge, that's where all your paedophiles are. That's where all your criminals are. That's where all the communications are going on in the gaming server network. It's where it's all going on. Like your canal systems. You know, organised crime. Highways. Especially paedophilia. I mean, you can see it, can't you? If they started to kidnap folk in towns, who's going to start looking on canal? for boats. Is the cameras on there? Mm-mm. No. That is the system they've set up. Tunnels is another one that they have set up for when they start doing that kind of shenanigans. I mean, they're already frightening people to death. Only this week, apparently there was an attempted abduction of a young child outside a school. So school threw it all over the shop. I mean, are they just trying to scare people, or are there shitbags around here? You need to keep your eyes on these transit vans, folks. They always seem to be white transit vans. Why? Because they're inconspicuous. A white transit van's a white transit van. There's millions of them. You know what I mean? That's why they use them. So you keep your eyes on these. I mean, I once had a funny experience. You know, them mobile sort of butty shops. So this were at Bamber Bridge, just before Preston. And I'd stopped off to get some lunch, and there were about 7 of us there, waiting before me. And then there was this van pulled up, tranny van. Out come this big fat lord ass, spotty freaky guy. And he was acting like very strange. But I was looking at these kids. There were a girl and a boy. A girl sat up front seat and she looked like she was drugged, right? And then a young boy come out outside the van and got into the front. And they were giggling and that, so it was weird. But what were interesting were, not only had I noticed this, some other males had noticed it as well. Females never noticed fuck all. This is drama and kissing and snogging. But other males noticed this, and then this guy, you could see that everything drained off him. You could see that we were looking. But it was one of them. You looked at these kids, and when I say kids, they were probably about 9 or 10 years old, something like that. So they weren't little kids, you know what I mean? And it was one of them, you could tell. But you didn't have enough. Really, what I should have done is open that side door and had a look, because I guarantee there'd have been video cameras and all sorts in there. And I regret not having done that, to be quite honest, but it's bloody going on all that show, man. And that were about 15 years ago, that. Yeah. Calculated murder. So it's not. It is at the beginning with what they did in them hospice, but everything else were you deciding. There's no murder in that, chaps, none whatsoever. If you went in to be treated and were given a different treating, then that's the case. But them are the only cases. Everything else is suicide or self-harm if it doesn't go to that end. And you might not come round to that reality yet, but the legal system is that they're pushing us into, this new one. That's already set up to judge you on all this nonsense. So, this is your intent, men. Get correct. PY, gamers use influence. It's a massive network for all things naughty. I'll tell you that. As is Company's House Beta, which we discussed last year. I blame Clive Sinclair and my ZX Spectrum. Well, I never got to the Spectrum because I got the ZX81 when it come out. And them days, you had to program the game in. So you didn't come with, no, you had to program the game inside the ZX81. Which I did. And it probably took me God knows how long. Religiously. Every night. Boom, 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 till bedtime. And then when I got to the end and pressed enter or go or whatever, it went syntax error. So I threw it out at window and I never bothered with computers again. Because I weren't going for that malarkey. Because it took me absolutely yonks to program it didn't play. So I thought, fuck that. But the Spectrums were a little bit better, weren't they? They were nice keys, whereas that Spectrum, that 81, it were quite hard. The difficult part was actually getting just the right pressure on the pad. So that it didn't do 6, but it did do 1. Anyway. So look. So, and the apple with a bite out of it. Be not deceived. That's it with gremlins. Yeah, 3 comments in chat with suspicious grammar. I'm sure the mods are there in the background ready to shoot. If we get any fruit bats going on. We did have an attempt, I think, last week at fruit batting. It didn't last long. And I noticed as well, if somebody gets a bit on it and I answer them, and the answer is too fantastic and amazing, it all gets deleted. So, I mean, who's doing that? It's got to be 77 Brigade, hasn't it? Unit 80, 8500. Because they're deleting my message as well, which they will do because it's a reply. But yeah, that's they're just trying to aggravate anger or some kind of nonsense. Don't take them on. Ref to what you said the other week, magic cabbage and a dig at the fact you bring truth and common sense to those with the brains to see it. An earmark with stars, suspicious comments. Well, who was that? What, before? Not tonight? Or tonight? Oh, I really don't care. I mean, you know, odds will whack 'em. I've seen them do it. They just... As long as if you want to criticise what's being said, if you've got a point to bring across and say, look, sunshine, you're not fantastic and amazing because you're shit, here's it is, I'll read it. And if you're right, I'll go, you're fantastic and amazing. Well done, lad. But if you're going to just start calling me names or start to just talk bollocks, who cares about that? We're not even interested. Just zapped. But don't be scared to come up and say, oh, you little shit, you're wrong. I don't really care. Because we're exploring, aren't we? We're exploring. 3 comments. Yep, it's in that. LFX. Erade. Forum with facts. Revolution is blood, rebellion is duty. And truth facts pertain. Well, when we first got on the internet, there were forums everywhere. And in a lot of cases, if you were pulling up data in a search engine, say you were studying a subject, a lot of the links that come up would be discussions on forums. So the majority of data that you were picking up in support of whatever you were reporting on, in a lot of cases you would get the original sources in discussions on forums. And because of Facebook, TikTok, all these other things, they've sort of like been left aside. But you can actually use a forum if you set it up to sit right. You can actually use it as a sort of a Facebook kind of thing. Probably not as... I mean, but then you can't do as much as you used to be able to on Facebook now anyway. So are people missing anything if they all decided to come off Facebook? But the forums are a real good way for people to get facts across. And if you keep it... If the bulk of your forum is actually on point, not nonsensical, nobody's falling out calling each other names when it gets to that data dump, you will find that very high level people will actually add the Pennisworth as well. So they can be excellent, and I think we're at a loss because they're no longer as popular as they once were. So who knows? But then getting people on them is another thing, because I did open one up before. And they take a lot of managing. I mean, a lot of managing. So, but that's my thoughts over this recent ban on Face 8. Not that I give a shit. Like I said, I quite enjoyed it. What do you think about the idea that Tesla cars are actually real surveillance devices? Well, why would they need to do that when you're walking around with one? Aren't we? We're in our pocket. Of course they are. Everything that's connected in this Wi-Fi world is spying on you one way or another. But, you know, it's alright if you don't carry a phone around with you, then going, these cars, let's get an older car. But surely you can dismantle these systems. But who today is going to drive around with their sat-nav? I mean, do people actually look at signs? Because I noticed that when I used... when I was doing a lot of working around country, I did use my little tom-tom a lot. And what I found were, after a few weeks, months maybe, you start looking at signs. You don't do it. Whereas before I got that tom-tom, I would plan every route. So if I were going to London to work, I would know exactly where I was going. I'd know where I'm going to be parking everything before I got there. And I'd do all that from maps. I didn't even use Google Maps. So, no. It does, it stops you watching signs. So I think it's a good thing not to use a sat-nav and actually get back to looking at signs, because not only that, you see your country as well. So that's just my personal opinion. But I do use it occasionally if I'm going somewhere and it's like it. So, but I'll put the address in before I set off, turn it off, and then as I'm getting close to where I'm going, I'll stick it in. So it's just putting me in, you know, when you're in town itself. I find them useful for that. Every smart device is surveillance. Exactly. Ever seen Man on the Land? Billy Max Edrin looking dude. He acts in Admiralty, stands in law, sets off court fees, makes it simple. Well, setting off is one thing, but really you want to be looking at discharging the debt. Look, if enough people were operating at discharging the debt, that would stop us going into the no-hide system. Because instead of forgiving the debts, which they're supposed to do on the Jubilees, they've decided to stuck the debt into this new system and then administer everybody based on the judgment system that we've just been discussing. Self-harm, harming your kids, yeah, abortion, eating aborted fetus stem cells, putting foreskins in your lips, etc. They're setting you up for judgment when they get it into this new system. And people really need to see that. This is how important this is. But get rid of the debt, you can't take it into the system. So that's one for people to consider. Are you just about yourself? Because most people that are in that game are blind. All they're interested in money. And when you put money in it, money becomes the focus. So it's only 2 minutes in and the whole fucking show is editing itself based on, oh, well, that'll affect the money. Oh, well, that'll affect the money. Oh, well, that'll affect the money. Yeah, well, you know, why? Why do that? Don't do it. You know? Don't do it. Revolution, so forum with facts. Revolution is bloody rebellion. Yeah, it is. We don't want revolution. That's always bloody. Our systems here in the West give us the ability for rebellion, not revolution. Revolution goes hand in hand with one particular ideology called communism and whatever it were before, and fascism. So that's 2 in it, so I'm fibbing. Debbie says, sounds fab. Oh, I've done that bit. Every smart, yeah, but oh. You sure women do spot suspicious stuff? Yeah, no, but well, yeah, I suppose you do sometimes. All right, Debbie, I'll let you off. Yeah, you can do. Well, actually, if I'm saying that, males tend to spot physical stuff. Women are picking up on all the psychology stuff, aren't you? Your psychic antennas are running on, and you're going, well, she's just said that, but that's not what she means. And he said that, but that's... Well, actually, no, you women can be quite fooled sometimes by males if they put it on. As Odin says. Odin says it well. You can't trust a woman because their hearts are built on a wobbly wheel. Remember, he says woman. It's a female. Woman. Because the Vikings, the Scandinavians, they were none of this control of your female. The females were equal. But Odin made reference to the woman can't be trusted because their heart's built on a wobbly wheel. So you don't really want to be a woman, do you? You want to be female. Whereas most boys now want to be women, don't they? It's all fucked up, innit? Let's be honest. My poor kids, we don't only just notice snogging. Yeah, but it's your main thing, innit? Any bit of fancy, you girls are off. You know, we're furries, you know? I mean, I remember growing up, and I mean, I read about 4 books, I think, when I was growing up, off my own bat, rather than from school. But I noticed that all women, always every day, Mills and Boone, this and that, swoon and this, and I'm thinking, no wonder you don't like your husband. You know what I mean? It's no wonder. They were constantly reading all this fantasy nonsense. And then you've got Albert sat there chewing across with his brew. And she's looking at him thinking, he ain't never going to do any of that. Well, no, he isn't. But that's not who you married, is it, love? You didn't marry Casanova. You married Albert. And Albert doesn't do all that shit. You know, he did it when he was trying to get your leg over. And you were buying your pints and half a mild. You know, mild, do you remember that? It's like dishwater. Oh my God, it would puke. Oh. But yeah, I mean, the days are gone. That's the coaching for most males, isn't it? Buy them a few back. We'll give them 3 weeks of buying them alcohol. And if they're not giving it up, then I'm off. I mean, that were the mentality of the 80s. Let's be honest. I don't know what it's like these days. Oh, it's coke, innit? They've got coke, they've got ketamine, they've got ecstasy. They've got all these fancy drugs now to try and get leg over, haven't they? It's quite ridiculous, really. We don't only just notice snogging. Well, no, it's the main job, though. Come on, Deborah. You do notice snogging a lot. You're always into that lot, you nut jobs. Otherwise known as girlies. I think my phone is trying to read my mind, says Gary. And we've got an emoji with a tongue sticking out. We've got quite a few emojis tonight, actually. Looking at it. I think my phone is trying to read my mind. I've watched something, on that, where they were saying that they've tested this to picking up on emotions. And then they can do one better than what it is you're searching. And send you stuff through your phone on anyway, who knows whether that's real or not, but it probably is. Mats11 says, also, as an X81 owner here, I put a welly through a window due to a syntax error or a RAM pack falling out of something. Now I'm an IT man. Well, you did better than me, Maz, because I'd had enough. I mean, the effort that I put in, my younger brother was sat there eager for this game to come out, and because you remember rightly, you'd save it every now and again and you'd get a syntax error, so you knew you had to go back. So to get all that way along, sorting out any syntax errors you'd had along the way, and then for that last part, for syntax error, no, that were a bridge too far. I popped. My brain popped at that, and I thought, right, forget computers, get motorbike out. Or something like that, you know what I mean? Or get your knife out and go play knifey on rope swing with old lads and girls. Because wherever we went, the girls used to follow. Because we used to have a good time. Anyway. Anthony says, not long after that, when your web page came up, was not found. Sanity machine in comments. Are you still talking about somebody being dodgy, Anthony? There's a lot of dodgy out there, and come on, let's have it. My understanding is that Tesla, with all the cameras, have face recognition. Well, I just presume everything has it there. What was that? Oh, your supermarkets. Asda. Isn't it correct? Somebody was telling me. You go there now, and your face comes up as a video. They're taking your face recognition. Look, you go to the supermarket, even if they've only got 2 people on checkouts, make the queue so big that they have to put them on others, embarrass them. Because think about it. They'll say, oh, would you like to use self-service? Just say, no, love, I don't work here. Yeah, you don't work there, do you? Why would you be filling your bags? Why would you do it? Not only are you paying through the nose for the shit, then you're being cashier. Are you getting paid? No. You can't use your loaf a bit here. You can't counter them places by telling them what to do, because they're private companies. The way you tell private companies what to do is you don't buy the shit. If they're taking the piss, don't buy it. Watch them put the price down. If you're not going to queue up, if you're going to queue up because you're refusing to use self-service, they'll fill them other checkouts. It only takes a change of attitude. That's all. That's all it is. See what I mean? I bet it's all in you. You're in control, but only of your own self. Your flea bags, well, the flea bags. Yeah. Oh, you're allowed to do that. Well, if you're not allowed to do it, who gives a shit? We did it anyway. Because they were little bad ones. Because they were mine. They had my genes in them. So obviously they were going to be little sods anyway. So, and a look. I know you have to give them a look anyway, and they shit their pants. So you were alright, you were easy. But you first have to give them that, you have to rough them up a bit first to show them, like, hey, and then they can cry a bit of a sulk. But then you only have to look at them after that. So, you know, who cares what they said? You do whatever you want. There's nothing wrong with slapping odd flea bag when it gets there to line. Here, there and everywhere. Just don't do it in the supermarket when everybody's watching you, you know what I mean? Do it sneaky, like, sneaky. Anyway, what am I on about? How did I get onto that anyway? What are you talking about? You're setting me off on all sorts of madness. Where are we? Do not does. Oh. So, Cos has got an eyeball, lips and an eyeball. You did that last week. What does that mean, Cos? Eyeball and 2 eyeballs and lips. Does the no-wine system come into effect as soon as martial law is declared? Don't know. No, what it'll probably be, okay, so let's have a look at how it usually goes. 1931, bankruptcies. 1933, new deals. New banking system, bankruptcy, birth certificates floating on stock market, right? All that's set up, put in place, right? So they're setting up, now that they're administering it, they're setting up a National Health Service, social system, all this shit there. And this is before the Second World War, right? So they prepare the system, make it, get it going in people's minds, and then have a war. You've all forgotten completely about all that were going on because you've been fixed into this war for a length of time, so that at the end of it you're traumatised. They launch it like it were always there. And nobody says a dicky about it because you're all absolutely had enough of the shit. You'll do anything for peace. You'll do anything for food. Because the rations, you know, the reason why the Brits were so big growers is because that generation lived through the Second World War, which starved the entire population here for the duration of the war. Dad's army's commanders had command to kill any politically savvy people in England if Hitler invaded. That's your dad's army, really. The dad's army they're setting up now, here, and in the US, are not English, they're not Scottish, they're not Welsh, and they're not Irish. Some of them could be by birth, but they're not culturally in tune with that. So you go off to war now, your kids, grandma and granddad are still here, aunties, uncles, pet, Shep and Kitty will be under a new dad's army, and they like to have sex with very young people. So they say. So, see the game. This is how easy it is to smash this garbage system that they have up. But first you have to recognise it's garbage. But more importantly, recognise how it's dragging you along with it. Start to break that down as you cleanse your own breath, your soul, and the spells and the hooks, you're releasing them. Like that. I'm currently giving the old Schlusser cell salts a try, Sean, and still eating clean with the stir fries. Energy levels are noticeable. Well, that's good. That's very, very good. Schlusser cell salts. Oh, that sounds interesting. Because I keep threatening to get into it, and I haven't done anything yet. It's just, I haven't had time to do anything else other than what I've been doing. And now I'm going back to graft. So, we might have to hit and miss on these live streams a little bit, depending on how dead I become. Because there seems to be a lot of plastering coming in at the moment. And it's fine, you know, it's not a problem. But for the first 3 weeks, I usually die by about 3:30. and I'm dead until I get up in the morning usually. So it might just alter things a bit. But then if I'm fantastic and amazing, I might just sail through it and I'll be okay. So if I'm not, it could be all sorts of shenanigans. Anyway, Debbie says, "Oh, again, I was reading James Herbert, not bloody Mills," and boom. James Herbert, is he got something to do with that bunch there in the old that place we can't mention that you've got friends in? Cartel, is it? Is that what he is? James Herbert. What does he write about, Deborah? I'd be interested to know. So you might not have been reading romantic novels, but you've been reading crime, haven't you? How to be a criminal underworld boss. Oh, Deborah. I can tell you're not a northerner, I'm telling you. Well, I know. So I don't know about when they're going to do the no-white system. Well, it's actually, I'm saying that. It's in. They're implementing it. And as long as you guys don't wake up, I think so. I did answer it, didn't I? I think with a war to come first, or another round of absolute terror against the population, so they completely forget everything and whatever they launch after that. Like they've got this digital ID now and all this stuff that's pushing in and going on, and nobody wanted it, but they've done it anyway, haven't they? You were too traumatised dealing with the shit that Dan's too. They just put that in your background. We did rattle on about it, you know. We did. We told you everything. You know, February, March, April 2020, I pulled everything together with the exception of that graphene stuff, because it weren't known then. So I've been telling you forever, and there are a hell of a lot of other people telling you as well, you know, if you did it. So if it woke you up, if it made you realise that you're not fantastic and amazing, that you're actually shit, then you're on the path to getting better, aren't we? Do you not think? We just got to be good. Exceptions to every rule, Debbie, says Paul. James Herbert. Who's James Herbert anyway? I think it rings a bell, that. But I wouldn't have been reading about cartels and all that, mate. I can't say. First gaming computer I used was an Oric 1. I've never heard of that. And I've never done gaming. Oh, actually, when I got my son's PS and daughters, because they were all on it, girls were always into gory stuff like Resident Evil and stuff like that. Whereas lads who just wanted a car, just wanted to drive around, and that was it. They were happy until, of course, COD 6090 came out, and then it were all let's kill everybody. But I did actually complete. I nearly said it again, and I tried to tell you this before. Wipeout. Do you remember Wipeout Fusion? I did that because it's hand track. And I also did, on the real early PlayStation, Abe's Odyssey. And Abe, the first one. I love that. But I've not really ever been a gamer. But I can understand why you can get addicted to it. I can. But that Wipeout used to focus all the energy to the frontal lobes. And that's what creates anger. So there's a lot going on with them games that are detrimental to your flea bags. I think the good news is they do actually grow out of it, which is good. There was a true ball. I'm not fitting into your own stereotypes. You won't do, will you? Cartel girl. Just gotta tell her. So we know where to come anyway. We need anybody off in like, no, we can't. Right. The first game you got. Oh, you've done that, haven't you? Enver D. Vettel, Law of Nations. My uncle had a Dragon 32, and it had Donkey Kong. It was the dog Sax. Dragon 32. Pre-Y Music, he's a big gamer. And one of my cousins is... In fact, one of my cousins, he buys up, you know, old arcade games. He buys them. Broke, fixes them, makes a fortune. It's surprising. There's a massive market in for them games still. I refuse to use the self-service tills. Me too. Sod that. And if I'm only getting a few things, I go to fags. If anybody mourns, I just buy a lighter. But they never mourn. Because I've told them, I said, I ain't using them things. I'm telling you out of a job. So they smiled, don't they? Oh, what a lovely guy you are. I know. Cos says, 3 thumbs up. Wait, is that code? Is it called that? And Cos says again, soon they'll scan your retina if you want to buy a loaf. Debbie says, he wrote the rats and fog, etc. or a bent, but like that's any better than Mills and bloody boot, Deborah. Horror? What is it with you girls and horror? You're only happy when you're shit scared, aren't you? It's quite ridiculous. My daughters were tapped. And my wife. They would spend full weekends frightening themselves to death playing Resident Evil. And there's others as well, I can't remember them. And they were like, well, anyway. And then all they'd ever watch were horror movies. I mean, what happened to Little House on the Prairie? And Huckleberry Finn and that kind of stuff. What has happened? Rats in the Fog. The Fog's excellent. That Fog is classic, isn't it? I mean, classic 80s gig that. And when I watch it, if I watch it now and again, it takes me right back to 80s. Young kid, full of beans. All the world's ahead of me. And at that time, I'd sort of stopped. I'd stopped with music. So even that weren't in my brain. I think that's why I ended up joining Army. I'd sort of give up for a point, you know. It had been my entire childhood, all that, but then it would actually, I'd give up, basically. And I go, yeah, it's strange, isn't it, how we change. Anyway. You wrote that. So the checkout cameras record your face match to your card details. What? So who's matched it to your card details originally then? Where did that go on? The checkout cameras record your... Oh, you don't know. Everything is about to crash. It's all being designed that way. But here, with the digital currency, they have put a mechanism in for cash. So, you see, that's the thing they do, isn't it, when they're playing this hypnotism. They throw out the most extreme things they want. And everybody goes, fuck off, you top bastards, we're not doing that. So then, in comes an opposition, controlled by the same, and they go, no, you're evil, you're bad, and we love the people, and you can't do that, no, sorry. We want this change and that change, but really, the agenda that this wants is only half of what they threw out. So you're going apeshit because they've pretended they want more. So when this controlled opposition has moulded it to a point where these guys here have got off what they pretended they wanted and actually got what they want, then they pretend to cave in. This new controlled opposition, all its bodies, become heroes because everybody thinks, look what they've achieved. They haven't got what they wanted. Well, they never fucking wanted that. They've got exactly what they wanted. And you just blinded and not seen any of that trick. What about this Gary Lineker? I mean, he's a tosser anyway, isn't he? I've heard him come out with some pretty shit stuff, to be honest, and I weren't impressed. And then, he just sacked his wife as well. Weren't he? He throwing it about, weren't he? The dirty little bugger. And then sacked his wife like she was shit on his shoe. I don't like him anyway. So, I saw Shearer, who were a great footballer, but he obviously is a tosser, because now he's showing himself. You've got all these fruit bats coming out going, oh, we love Gary Lineker. Anyway, it's disgusting. Andy Drew says it was a plaster by trade for 10 years, mate. Been to the 12-5, done a bit that other month. Cream cracker wasn't the word. Eye graft is the old plastering. It is, but it takes me 3 weeks. But I have to be plastering all the time. And then as soon as that 3 weeks up, I look like a Greek god. And I mean a Greek god. I mean, every muscle comes out like you wouldn't believe. So it's good training. And I haven't been to a gym for quite a few years, and I've been looking at myself and I thought, you fat, ugly, middle-aged git. So it's time for a gym, but finding one that's not full of idiots playing on the phone and tossing a bet while everybody's waiting for something, that might be the difficult bit. It's much better when you actually have a gym at home, if I'm honest, because it works. So, some spring can't tell spring's coming. You know what I mean? And it gets even worse when skirts start, when they start getting the skirts on, then flosses. It's no good. I'm alright in winter, I'm calm. But as soon as the legs come out, that's it. It's a wonder I don't crash every 5 minutes. As I said, Paul says, yes, CBDC will be presented as the only solution. I loved Abe. So, Debbie, you did Abe, did you? Weren't it Ace that? I believe they've done a new one, but I obviously... In fact, a friend's son gave me an Xbox. I've got an Xbox! Can you believe it here? He said it so I could put telly on through that if I wanted. But obviously, I don't actually watch telly. But I've thought I might have another use for it, so we'll have to see. So I have got an Xbox, can you believe it? So if the live stream stopped, you know I've got addicted to Xbox or something. I'm joking, that's not going to happen. Mary Whitehouse was right. Damn right she was right. I don't know if I've told you this before, but I was working on a job a few years ago, and he just had smooth radio on all the time. And even though I went through the entire 80s, and then again at 90s, and early 2000s, I was listening this time to lyrics of the 80s songs. I couldn't believe how promotion of homosexuality so many of the 80s tunes were all about. Because I were only listening to the music. You know, I only ever listened to lyrics if they were political. I weren't really interested in... Can I come and kiss you? Oh, she's falling out with me. I'm crying my eyeballs out. Because that's basically what it is, isn't it? And now, of course, she's, I'm going to kill you all and kick your ass and kick your butt. And yeah. So it's actually got worse. There was a fair bit of sex in these books too. See, Deborah, I knew there'd be sex in it somewhere. You had time for Laura Ingle. Laura Ingle. What were others? Waltons. The Waltons. And no wonder. And what's the family called that runs Walmart? Waltons. I'll bet they weren't like the real Waltons, were they? They'd have been robbing each other. They'd only been falling asleep at night. Can you imagine? Walmart Waltons, bedtime. Wouldn't be Night Jim Bob. They'd be all sneaking into each other's room, robbing them, each other blind, wouldn't they? It could be a totally different Waltons thing. What was your experience with the army? I fucking loved it, mate. Apart from until they started injecting us with all sorts of shit. Fucking loved it. I was made for it. Honestly, I'm not kidding you. Made for that kind of stuff, mate. But Field Marshal. That's another thing I noticed pretty quickly. That I were in wrong. I were in wrong position. I should have been Field Marshal. So, but once they started vaccinating us with this for this super soldier stuff. Nah, because the strange thing is you were blind to it. You didn't see it. It weren't until a mate of mine pointed it out. That was it. Loved it, mate. I loved everything about it. I mean, I do. I like that kind of stuff. I always have. And it's all we did as kids, you know. So loved it. And of course, it was before the British Army started to change. You know what I mean? So it was nice to see and experience the army of old as it was before they started talking about bullying. And I mean, God's sake, a guy that run retrainers in Paris, he was a black guy. So you can imagine how much shit he'd had to get his position. He used to snap your fingers back here while you're on parade. Snap them. Did anybody run off crying their eyeballs out? No, did the folk? No, they didn't. No, so they call it bullying today. It used to be called finding the males, the men, not the fucking pussy boys. So I'm glad I saw and experienced that, how it was, rather than this shit that they're all getting pushed into now. Discharge was going to come after set off, but not much space in this chat. Recording your face alone is not enough. Your card details tie the image to your ID. Yeah, they are tying, but you're doing it all the time, tying your flesh and blood to the... Look. Right, okay, so you've gone through all the Freeman stuff, you've watched all the videos, and what they tell you, oh, you must this, and you must hate this, and you must hate that birth certificate, get rid of it. That's the token to play on the Monopoly game, on the board. Without it, you can't play. It's that simple. But it's either ID or a discharge. It tells you it can't be ID on the fucking paperwork after 1969. Who's at fault? Who's administrating that? Because there's no living will. Who is? Ain't you, is it? Bishops. You're born into sin, remember? According to this shindig. You're born into sin. The minute that first registration goes, you stop being a boy or a girl, you become child. You are now, the Vatican's took you in trust to guide you in sin, because you're in sin. The problem is today, if you raise yourself up from that, resurrect yourself, they're not letting you in, because they've nicked it. Something else has nicked it a long, long time ago and turned it into a pantomime. Record it, but proper tosser. Ooh! Deborah. Who are you talking about, Deborah? You naughty girl. How many eggs in the eggs box? How many eggs does the box hold? Untitled. LFX. Are you a face, a card ID, or image? Infinite expression of consciousness. Flesh and blood, aren't you? Flesh and blood. In the image of the Elohim. The Heavenly Fathers. Because if you go back to the Hebrew Bible, it doesn't use the term God. It uses the term God in Genesis 2, but not in Genesis 1, it's Elohim. Now, I read some babble from a priesthood hierarchy this week. The sophistry around explaining how Elohim plural doesn't mean plural was just quite absurd, but the fruit bats will love it. Geraldine Cruz a tosser. Ah yes, absolutely he's a tosser. How much money's he made on them Walker's Crisps selling them, eh? He's made some cash on it on quiet with them. Well, to say that I didn't do any work at all and effort, it does appear that we can actually have some good chinwags without it having to be data, I suppose. So that were interesting. So I suppose we could probably say that were our first attempts at Q&As. But if we wanted to do in future a subject, then we can do it together searching, can't we? And then you can put yours up, I can bring it up, show it. There's all sorts of weird things we can do if we put our minds to it, so that we're all involved a bit, you know. I'm up for that. So, well, guess what? It's that time again, folks. It's 1:54 and I've run out of yammering. I've nothing else to yammer. That's the first, isn't it? Me stuck for gobbing off. Woo! Hey, maybe. Maybe that's a sign. I mean, less is more, or something like that. I don't know. Right, so you guys, I'm going to say thanks for joining me again. I know I haven't seen the mods, but I'm pretty sure you're out there. So thanks for you guys for keeping a good eye on it. And I think we've had a good chat tonight, chaps. I've enjoyed it anyway. And we didn't have to get bogged down in a load of real intense, hard to understand data. What about a Zoom meeting? What, with everybody? Everybody on a Zoom meeting? Oh, that'd be crack, wouldn't it? Oh, I never thought of that. And that's a thought. And on that bombshell, I'll see it. Till the next time.
rocket.